Welcome back to the Dental Marketing Summit series. What are we on tap for today? Well, today we're going to go through every promotion medium. Well, every promotion medium that makes sense. There's lots of promotion mediums that don't make statistical sense, so we're only going to talk about the ones that do make statistical sense. All the promotion mediums, and we're also going to go through design, because design is probably, Howie, wouldn't you say, it's got to be the most misunderstood
Mhm,
part
mhm.
of this entire series.
That's
And
right,
it's got to be, if it's not number one, it's got to be close to number one, I
right.
would say.
There are a lot of myths,
Yes.
actually.
We're going to dispel those myths for you.
Yep.
Um, when you're talking about design, well, Howie, why don't you do the 100% cookie cutter or 100% custom?
Right.
Why don't you talk? Howie,
Well,
by the way, is I don't know how to put it into words, but Howie knows how to use words in such a way. He's just an incredibly gifted copywriter, and he knows how to get into mom's mind, right? And explain things, dental things, in such a way where she goes, "Huh." So when you're talking about design, let's listen to the master over here.
well, thank you. I don't know if I'd go that far, but anyway, we often get clients who say, listen, I don't want anything cookie cutter. Okay, nothing cookie cutter. They're using the term pejoratively, of course, as in cookie cutter equals bad and never before seen by the human eye equals good. Well, there's a problem with that. And that's this. If you want to come up with a design that is 100% custom, nobody's ever seen it before, it's startling, it's new, it's hip, it's exciting, etc., fine. But realize that you're not running an ad campaign. That is a test. And it's a very expensive test because it has not been exposed to the gauntlet of public scrutiny. It doesn't have any track record, successful or otherwise, because it's brand new, right? So there's a fallacy that dentists fall into, a pitfall really. They want absolutely 100% custom design. Okay, but there's no track record for it, and that's a waste of money, really. The other side of that is what you might call cookie cutter. Cookie cutter is kind of, everything's the same, stamped out. Every client gets exactly the same thing with only the contact information changing. That is equally bad, actually. So what are you going to do when you're faced with this dilemma? Well, what we've done and what we would like you to do when you design your promotion is do both. Don't be 100% custom and don't be 100% cookie cutter. What is good about cookie cutter is that you can establish a framework over time of what works, what photos work, what colors work, what copy works, what headline works, paper textures, fonts, finishes, days of the week you mail, et cetera, et cetera. And once you figure all of that out, due to testing, you've got a pretty solid piece, no matter what it is, a radio spot, direct mail piece, or whatever. And then on top of that framework that you don't change or very rarely change because you know it works, you customize the piece. You make the practice unique. You make the team unique. You make the dentist and the team into stars. So it's a combination of both. So don't be so hard on the cookie cutter stuff. It's way too extreme. Just as 100% cookie cutter and 100% custom is, they're at the opposite ends. What you want to do is bring them both together in the middle.
What you have before you on your screen is a design concept. It's actually not a design concept. It's an actual design that was deployed into several US markets. And in our live presentations, we always ask the question of the audience, what do you think? And most, if not all, the comments of this design is that they generally like it.
Yeah, the
Uh,
question we ask is, would you feel comfortable about your practice being represented this way in the eyes of the public?
Right.
And most dentists will go, yeah, that's nice looking. It's
Yeah.
modern, clean, goes
Has
after the cosmetics.
has a good open airy feel to it.
Yeah,
It's not overstated, right?
right,
There aren't too many words.
right.
And it's a great looking model that they use for the cover,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So to most dentists in our live audiences, they'll look at this and they'll say, yeah, I would promote my dental practice with that.
Hmm.
Isn't that normally what we get when we
Yep,
do a live audience?
yep.
Okay. Well, here are the tested results. This is what brings Howie's point about cookie cutter and custom. Custom is untested. Cookie cutter isn't customized enough to promote your own marketable attributes. So you have to bring them, you have to test and then bring them together. So you may have looked at that piece that we just showed you, and you may have said, yeah, I, I would promote my practice with that piece. Well, here are the answers, or here are the results. There's 50,000 pieces mailed, 61 new patient exams, a 1-to-1 short-term ROI. That was just in the first month. About a 1.5 first year, 2-to-1 midterm, first 3 years, and a 4.3-to-1 in 6 years. In other words, it took 6 years for this piece to generate a 4.3-to-1 ROI. 4.3-to-1 ROI is sort of like spending 25 and bringing in 105 over basically a 6-year period, right?
Hmm.
Okay. You may like that. You may love the piece. You may have shown that piece to your spouse, everybody on your team, some of your patients, and you may have gotten opinions from 20 people who all said, yeah, I like this piece. And you spent money and you sent 50,000 of them out, and in 6 years, you returned a 4.3-to-1 return on investment.
Not bad.
Not terrible,
No.
not great, not bad. Okay, in this next design that we're going to show you, we'd really like you to be honest with yourself, just like you were with the first design, and maybe even jot down the first 2, 3, or 4 things that comes to your mind as soon as you see the next design. Here it is.
We can anticipate what you might say about this from the feedback we've had with our audiences.
Right.
Much of the feedback said, oh, too many words, way too many words, too busy.
Most of the feedback was too many words,
Yeah.
too busy, too many colors. What were the first things that you thought when you saw this design?
Do you agree? There's too many words? Okay. You would be in the majority.
You would definitely be in the majority. What else? What else do you see in here that you may or may not like? Is there anything you like about this design? Or are you having a hard time coming up with things that you like? And now let's turn the page to the realities of this design. This design was deployed. Initially, 45,000 pieces were produced,
4,500.
and 4,500 were distributed the
Yeah.
first time. That's about 10% of the total mail that was printed was distributed in 1 month. In that 1 month, 147 new patient exams were logged. There was a 7-to-1 1-month ROI, 13-to-1 first-year ROI, 23-to-1 3-year ROI, and a 49-to-1 6-year return on investment. Our point is that the top half of the dental consumer market is extremely fickle. It requires a significant amount of testing to determine what makes these people make their choices. It's not something that you stumble upon, it's something that you have to test. And then when you're done testing, you have to tweak. And then when you're done tweaking, you pretty much have to test again. So the other point is what you like, and honestly, what I like, and probably what Howie likes, and what your spouse might like, or your team might like, or 20 of your friends might like. probably won't line up with what works. I mean, clearly, when we do these live presentations, everybody really likes the first design much better
Hmm.
than the second design. However, the second design in a very similar market outperformed the first design 12 to 1. And 12 to 1 is a significant amount of money.
That's right.
It's almost it's almost fascinating to see the difference between your personal feelings of what something looks like or your personal belief of what's going to work and what's not going to work and what truly works.
Right.
Okay?
It's the marketplace that is the guide. It's the results.
They are the proof.
That's what you go for.
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't like the piece either. I don't like a lot of
Right.
the pieces that we produce in the direct mail category. But it doesn't matter what I like.
Right. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what you like.
Right.
It only matters what the dental consumer does, and they may not even like it, but they respond to it, and that's your key. And this is a test we've done over and over and over again. This isn't just a one-time thing. Uh, we've been proving this point over and over and over for years.
Let's go back and look at the first design again. We'll enlarge it for you. And let's diagnose why. Okay, why was one that we all liked better? Why did that one underperform the other one 10, 12 to 1? What elements of it? Where did we learn? How did we test? Right? So Howie, why don't you go through the first one and maybe pinpoint some things that are some reasons why
Hmm.
the consumer reacted better to the second
Well, first of all, the appeal of this piece overall is to a very small segment of the market. It's about 5%.
one? Right.
Cosmetics, I'm talking
Five to
about.
8%, right?
Remember earlier we were talking about you have to be careful. You don't want to have people perceive that you're looking for only supermodels and CEOs. That this piece falls into that category. There's a specific high-end patient that is being sought after here, but the perception gets created that you're too expensive or too exclusive, right? Uh, Another thing that there's hardly any benefits mentioned here. The teeth whitening and that little list down the side there. There's not much beneficial to mom or to the consumer in general. There's not enough information. The other aspect of this is just the medium itself. This appears to be a postcard. Is it
Right.
an oversized postcard?
Right.
You don't have a lot of real estate to work with, so you can't say very much. So you got to sort of go project this image, right, and hope that that will be attractive to some people. Now, if you ran with this ad campaign in today's economy, it wouldn't have got the results that it got when it was first put out there, several years ago,
Right.
before the recession. This piece would be a dud and a bomb in this today's economy.
Right. Yeah, my draw to this is the visual.
Hmm.
Overall, I think the design is open and airy, which is what they tell. That's one of the first things they tell you in design school, right?
Hmm.
Keep it open, keep it airy, hardly say anything.
Yeah.
We've proven time and time again that in dentistry, that not only doesn't apply, but that's probably your quickest path to failure
Hmm.
if you're going after the top half of the dental market.
Right.
If you're going after the bottom half of the dental market, you don't have to say hardly anything. $49 exam special, exam and cleaning included, bring your kids, we'll treat them too. You're done. You don't need a whole bunch of words, right, to explain the deal. But when you're going after the top half of the market, which this ad clearly is attempting to do, even though they're using the wrong design, you're just not going to break through.
Okay, now let's look at this ad again. Actually, this is a mailer, and see if we can determine why this might work, even though it seems so counterintuitive to so many of us that it shouldn't work. It's too many words, too busy. An important thing to note about, Mark mentioned the design school datum or maxim is you got to have a lot of white space in your ad. It's got to be open and airy. This, I believe, came from a male-dominated centric sort of approach to this. Advertising created by males for males, okay? Because males are transactional, you know. Few bullet points, a good-looking photo, and bam, you know, you've got them, right? However, in dental marketing, our target market is mostly women. 89% of the dental appointments are made in this country by women, even if it's for a guy. So obviously, we want to make this as feminine in its appeal as possible. Now, the other very important thing when you're trying to attract female patients, dental consumers, is that you've got to give them information. Women devour healthcare information. If you don't believe us, go look at WebMD. It's a vast storehouse of information. Its main target market is women because they are the ones that make the healthcare decisions in the family. There's loads of information. Women need information to make up their minds, to choose you or not to choose you. So that's why you see a lot of design elements that you might call feminine here, because that's obviously the appeal we're trying to make. Now, there's another factor too, and that's this, and it doesn't just go for women, it goes for anyone. If someone is entirely uninterested in what you have to say, right? Entirely uninterested, then they're not going to become interested whether you have 500 words or 50 words or 12 words with the open and airy thing. If they're not interested, they're not interested. But if they are slightly interested or can be persuaded to become slightly interested, they're going to want to know all about it, or as much as they can with the real estate that you have, right? So yes, there are a lot of words, but they are the right words. You know, 500 boring words about how great you are is not going to work. But 500 words that the dental consumer, the mom out there, finds personally appealing or interesting to her or someone in her family, that works. That's why this piece works. Now, I can go back into the theory of all of this when we originally started it out. The concept comes from the newspaper called USA Today. USA Today came on the scene in about 1984, and since then it has become the fourth largest English language newspaper in the world, not just in the US, in the world. And this kind of design element and approach was actually borrowed from the USA Today paper. If you remember, if you're old enough, all of a sudden you see these newspaper stands popping up. They looked like television sets. Remember that? In fact, I think they still do. That's intentional. That was intentional on their part because they were competing in part with television news. But the front page of the USA Today was very different than the newspapers of its day. It had color. It had short little vignettes, if you will, little stories with an impactful headline and some juicy, meaty copy to give you just enough information that you were satisfied. And that gained a lot of readership for the USA Today. We applied that same concept to dental marketing, and I think it worked out rather well.
Well, the testing, through the testing, the numbers show, and I think they call those teasers, didn't they? On the front page, you give a picture and a headline or a subhead and a short block of text. And then you had a value because you had lots of them, right? There wasn't just one. There was like 7 or 8, right? And it was balanced graphically, right? And if you look at this piece, that's what this is, right? It looks like the front of a USA Today.
Right. And also notice that it gives not 1, not 2, not 3 reasons. It gives 4, 5, or 6 reasons to choose you. And on the other side, there's a couple more. Right? It's like having a bike lane up to your front door when really you should have a freeway, each lane being a different reason to choose you. And so that's another very basic philosophical element here. We need to cast a wide net. Now, she may not be interested in the cosmetics or the teeth whitening, But, you know, if her husband has migraine headaches, well, she might be interested in that. Or if he snores, there's a little story about that. There are other things on this page to be interested in. They don't have to be interested in everything.
Remember what we discussed in the first segment about the dental consumer? Remember we discussed the value gap, right? What we're doing here is we're taking advantage of the value gap. We, we, we explained to you that the numbers we received when we did our independent consumer survey, although rather bleak when you look at them as a whole, they screamed to us that what you do, the benefits of today's dentistry, is valuable. The consumers don't know anything about it. Okay, so when you look here and you have 6, 7, 8, 9 reasons that are perceived in this dentist marketplace as being unique, either because no other dentists are promoting them, possibly, or because this happened to be a piece that was actually opened and read, whatever the reason is, that's what we're trying to draw out. We're trying to draw out that value gap and we're trying to fill it. And if you fill the value gap with good beneficial information to a marketplace that will not choose a dentist based primarily on price, what you end up with is an interested market. And an interested market that is looking for a dentist that does more than the perceived average dentist, right?
Right.
They're not looking for the 50 out of 100 dentists. They're looking for the 75 or 80 out of 100 dentists, right? Okay. So that's this segment. Howie was right. This segment usually draws the most ire from the audience.
Because it's so counterintuitive.
It's totally and completely counterintuitive to what you believe. Now, if you're a female dentist and you're watching this, or if you're any female watching this, and you're looking at this, your ire isn't nearly as offended. But if you're a male dentist looking at this, and you're looking at it going, I wouldn't buy anything on that.
I don't have time to read this.
I don't have time to read all this stuff. I just want a picture of it and I just want to go buy it, you know? Then you know what we're telling you is at least partially true. All right? You're reacting the way a male should react to something like this. The females will react the way the female should react to something like this. And one little insert here of information. Howie mentioned WebMD, and I just want to throw out some things here. WebMD is a $1 billion market cap company. They skipped right over the million and went right to billion, okay? And so you say to yourself, well, what is WebMD? Well, WebMD is the largest repository of healthcare information in the world, and it's available online. And do they charge you a subscription? No, it's free. So you can log on and you can type in almost any ailment and you can learn more than you have ever wanted to learn about the ailment and the solution to the ailment ever, okay? And you say to yourself, why? I mean, why did a company called WebMD do all this? And the answer is advertising. Now go look at the advertising on WebMD. Type in something as overtly male as prostate cancer into WebMD and look at the sidebar where the advertising is. I guarantee you won't see Ford Explorers, fishing rods, shotguns, or golf clubs, or Budweiser. But here's what you're going to see. You're going to see Prada. You're going to see the latest SUV from Lexus. Yeah. You're going to see predominant female purchased products and goods in an obvious male category. That tells you that a $1 billion company is running on the same principle. You have to, the top half of the dental market devours healthcare information. They devour dental healthcare information. The more, the better, as long as, like Howie said, it's the right information, it's the right heading, it's the right subhead, and it's the right content and copy. It can't be boring, okay? But don't, when you go through your own designs with your own people, don't be um, convinced or influenced by someone who wants to make something uh, design schoolish, open and airy, and inviting. And we have a whole library of those that we've tested that don't work. It's an enormous library because we tried to get them to work. They don't work. So that's the nuts and bolts of this part of this segment,
Yeah.
is making sure you understand the differences in design, and it has nothing to do with what you like or what I like or what Howie likes or what any of your friends like.
Yeah. I just, an addendum here. Within reason, you almost can't have enough words to describe the benefits of modern dentistry. Within reason.
Right.
They have to be the right words, as Mark said. But it's, the proof's in the pudding.
The more words we put in this, the more it went up, the more the results went up within reason, right? You can't cut off your borders. You can't have enough room for pictures. You can't have too much word density. But to go from 49% to 74% word density is an enormous increase, and the results just followed right along. So hopefully that'll help you as you go through your design. And now we're going to go through mediums one by one. We're going to discuss internal promotions, public relations promotions. We're going to go through the internet and websites. That's going to be for a couple of segments away. External direct mail, print media, all types. We're going to talk about the various types, which ones are a little more risky than others, which ones to look for, which mediums to test before you really commit too many dollars to. Radio, television, and of course, billboards. We're going to go through every one of these one by one, show you some examples, give you some tips, hard-learned lessons and tips on what to do and potentially what not to do when you use these, how to create economy from your investment in them. It will just give you tips along the way. So internal promotions. Primarily what we're talking about, and you probably have your own internal promotion system now. Many of you have an electronic smile reminder,
Yeah.
demand force, Lighthouse
Lighthouse.
PLZ, 1-800-Dentist has one too.
Yeah.
Patient activator, that's what it's called. You may have one of those. That is an internal promotion tool. That tool you would use to communicate with your existing patient base. You can communicate with them via text, via email, both. You can text them their appointment reminders. You can email them newsletters. You can email them recare cards. They're wonderful tools. So whatever you're spending on those come out of your internal promotion budget. Internally, though, you also have other options at your disposal. There are things called referral brochures. I'm going to share with you what we've learned over all the years about referrals, asking for them, and solidifying or extending the thought process in the patient after they leave your practice. In our experience, we've worked with dentists who have had the little care to share cards. They're about the size of a business card. And one side is devoted to the practice. The other side is, we care to share. There's a $1 off coupon thing. Easy, convenient, and they don't take up too much room on the shelf, right? All right. The problem is there's really no system to them. Usually after a certain period of time, the staff stops using them, usually. And the patient leaving with them doesn't know really what to do with them, and the receiver of them doesn't understand why they're getting this thing, because it's just not enough room to describe why you're getting this thing.
And that's part of the problem too.
Right.
I mean, it's a good idea, but the medium itself being so small, it makes it easy to just toss it or lose it, etc.
Right.
So we designed something that will accomplish the same result, get somebody to refer, get a patient to refer their friends or family, only we put it in a larger medium and it's nice and glossy and fits into a purse fairly easily. And there must be a little bit of guilt factor involved because most people will not throw this away like they would a business card. They'll
Right.
take it home, put it on the refrigerator, put it in their drawer
Yep.
because it's a nice looking piece.
Yeah, and one of the benefits here is the existing patient that gives it to a friend. The friend is now not clueless.
Hmm.
The friend now understands why this is a great dental practice
Hmm.
because the piece tells them why it's a great dental practice and tells them why this patient handed it to him, basically.
Hmm.
Okay. So now you're taking the onus off of the patient to explain it, which is if you're using care to share cards, there's a whole overhead. You're like, why are you handing me this thing? This doesn't have that. Now, with all the referrals and one of the things that you want to do with your internal promotion is systemize your referral your system. And the way you do that, you might want to grab a pencil and a paper here, but here are the rules, and this is the best information we can give you to get the team involved, but not get them over involved. Include the team members that should be involved, but not include the team members that shouldn't be involved, and spread it out so that you're not over presenting this thing to the same patients should they come in 7 or 8 times in one year. You wouldn't want to present this at the end of each of those appointments. So here are the rules. Rule number one, the doctor doesn't do it. That should make all the doctors happy. Rule number two, the dental assistant presents this to the patient at the end of the last operative visit. This is the last operative visit just before scheduling the patient for 6-month routine recare. In other words, all their work is done. Rule number three, the hygienist presents this at the end of the recare visit that does not require additional operative care. In other words, you came in, I cleaned your teeth, you have a clean bill of health, you go home, we'll see you in 6 months. Those are the two times that your patients are the absolute happiest with you. Their work is all done, and they have clean teeth, and they need no more work. So, what a more wonderful time to ask them to share their joy with all their friends, family, and coworkers than right now, without giving them the overhead of explaining how great this dental office is to their friend once they get there. You can put these are low cost design, low cost production. You can put 2 or 3 thousand of these up on a shelf and just pull them off as you need them out of the hygiene operatories and out of your operatories. Very little expense, huge upside. We're not talking about gigantic volumes of new patient, but a pretty typical number is 1 to 2 additional new patients a month for a solo GP practicing 30 hours a week. Well, even if that's only 20 new patients a year, at an average revenue per patient of, say, $1,600, that's a significant number. And the cost is, I mean, the ROI is, and the ROI multiple is ridiculous on this piece. So this is what we're talking about. This is one piece of what we're talking about when we say internal referrals. When we allocate a certain portion of your marketing budget to internal promotion, this is one of them. And we'll go into another one now. This is a practice brochure. We have, I don't, probably only about 50 or 60% of all the dentists that we interact with even have an overall practice brochure. Well,
Hmm.
most of you send your newest patients something before they come in for the first time. You might send them their health history forms or their welcome to the office forms. This would be a perfect piece to send with that paperwork, with that information. They can fill out your information, bring it with them so they don't have to come in early, but you're also giving them an opportunity to learn about all the dentistry and the benefits of the dentistry you provide.
Yeah, you see, the new patient usually arrives with a goal in mind or a problem they have and they
Right.
want solved, which you can obviously take care of, and you will take care of it. But they may and often are completely unaware of what else you can give to them and do for them.
Right.
Maybe they'll get that and they go, well, they're coming in for a filling or whatever. Oh, there's some snoring treatment available.
I thought braces took 3 years.
Yeah, I thought I had to have metal braces on my teeth,
Right.
and I don't. Oh, and look at this, a crown in the same day.
Right.
So, it educates them on what else you can do for them.
That's right. Before they ever show up. And it also, this isn't hidden because you try to do this every time you do anything with your promotion, is it introduces the dentist. I don't know if you noticed this, but in this piece, there's a whole section on the dentist. It's funny, when things like websites that are so incredibly wonderful at tracking, the number one page visited on a website is Meet the Dentist.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with dentistry, really.
They want to see.
They want to see who's got the sharp instruments, and they want to meet you. So with this internal promotion, even though they pretty much called your office and said they're going to be there Tuesday at 3:00 in the afternoon, this is a great way to reintroduce the dentist. Now, when the patient comes in, a little bit of that uneasy feeling is already eroded away, right? Okay, it's gone. Wonderful, wonderful way to reintroduce your practice to the newest patients.
Mhm.
Now, there's another way. Businesses. How many of you have local businesses? 30, 40, 50 businesses within 5 or 10 miles of you with less than, let's say, 15 to 20 employees, most of you. Okay, not all of you, but most of you do. They all have the same issues. They all want to provide value and benefits to their employees, right?
Mhm.
They're all trying to do it for less. They're all trying to do it outside of normal business hours so they don't lose employee hours.
Mhm.
So how about a piece that you present to those business owners as sort of a benefit package to their employees if they come to your dental practice? Easy, inexpensive, effective. You don't have to, we're not talking about businesses with 200 employees. They have HR departments.
Yeah, and you'll never get through them.
No, they'll pick you up by your belt and throw you out the front door. We're talking about
Dry cleaners.
Yeah, businesses like yours with
Yeah.
5 to 8 employees. There's not thousands, but there's 20, 30 probably within 5 miles
Right, and
of your dental practice.
And your greatest benefit to them at that point is that you're near where they work.
Absolutely.
And if you have lunch hours or early hours or maybe even early evening hours, it's very convenient for them to leave work and come and see you and get their work done.
Mhm.
And many of them don't even know you're there unless you have a fabulous sign and a big presence in your community.
Right.
They just don't know that you're there and
Right.
available.
Right.
Now, these are not mailed, by the way.
No, those are handed in person.
In person, usually by a female staffer, and she goes around and visits. It's an old concept, visit the neighbors, right? But how often is it really done?
Right.
Not very often.
Right. Articles. We get calls every once in a while, 2 or 3 a month, from a doctor who says, the newspaper wants me to write an article. Those can be incredibly effective, not just on their own, but when you refer to them in your other promotion. You may have seen Dr. Smith's articles in
Mhm.
local newspaper.
Mhm.
So they're very effective both ways. Now, one of the most powerful would be if you could get into your local newspaper as Ask the Dentist or
Mhm.
the Expert Dentist, sort of like Dr. Oz is on television now.
Mhm.
But then what's really neat about that relationship is you get to ask the questions.
Mhm.
And you can make up whatever questions you want, and you can provide whatever answers you want. So question might be, geez, doc, I have tetracycline stained teeth, and my dentist says I'll never get them white. Is there any solution for me?
Mhm.
And then you provide the answer. Or it might be, my dentures fit, I keep them clean, but they slip. And no matter what I do, I can't stop them from slipping. And then you provide the solution.
Right.
Is there an overhead to writing these? Yeah, but we kid around all the time. Your patients are asking you the questions on a continual basis. You have direct experience and direct knowledge all you have to do is put it on a piece of paper and send it to somebody at the newspaper.
Right. It's a great way to position yourself as the dental authority in your area.
That's right.
And in addition, it makes you more familiar. I mean, if you're a mom choosing a practice for your family, are you going to choose the dentist that you've never heard of, or the one that appears in the paper once a week? There's a familiarity that gets born there, and you can continue it.
Okay, this next piece is delivered to your newest patients, the patients who make an appointment 3 or more days in advance. The patients who probably called you from a promotion you're doing who were interested in X. In other words, more than emergency, more than, my husband hasn't been to a dentist for 6 years, but someone who was interested in Invisalign, 6-month smile, sleep apnea treatment, something, okay, something they said. These pieces are basically they're folders with die cuts on the left-hand side when you open them up. And inside those die cuts, you're going to see different length um, communication on different topics. Of course, one of them is meet the doctor. There's always meet the doctor somewhere in there. Our philosophy, and then you have a directional page, and then you'll have other things you need to know before you come. And then there's other things about the dentistry that you provide, the benefits of the dentistry you provide, what you're doing with these. And then you can, on the right-hand side, you can always slip your welcome to our office brochure, your HIPAA compliance form, and your health history form. So this becomes a nice, neat package. Put it into a regular envelope and get it out the door. Patient gets that. They have the opportunity to complete the questionnaire and complete the health history form, but they also have an opportunity to learn even more about you. This is like the practice brochure, but bigger, more of a statement. You'd want to send these pretty much to the A patients that call to make their first appointment. Maybe it's just the patients who were referred to your office by existing A patients. You can select who gets these. These are wonderful pieces to pre-introduce the new patient to the dentist, to not all the benefits, but many of the benefits of the dentistry you provide. They immediately cut off any buyer's remorse. In other words, the patient has committed to making an appointment on Thursday at 3 o'clock, as an example. That's a commitment, and they have some level of buyer's remorse. They don't know what's going to happen when they come in, but receiving this in the way it's done with the health history, it just cements their great choice of choosing you as their dentist. So that's a great internal piece. And again, you don't have to send 1,000 of these out. You can send them out one at a time. Okay, now let's introduce you to external mail. How many dentists have called us and said, mail won't work? Or I hate direct mail.
Bunch.
Right. Or I've tried direct mail and it didn't work.
Therefore,
Right.
the whole medium is
it's
failure.
Right. The whole thing is bad. All right. Mail, if done properly, that's the caveat. There's not a million, but there's
lots of ways to do it wrong.
There's almost a million ways to do it wrong. Okay, there's a very good system of the ways to do it right. If you do it right, it's going to be effective in 96% of the U.S. markets. You have a 4% chance of failure. Like we said earlier in this segment, if you were a gambler, you'd be a billionaire at 96%. So this is where you're likely going to invest the first dollars you have external of the practice. It's either going to be here in a website or website and mail. That's probably where you're going to start. Not always, but very good chance. So let's look at the different kinds of mail. We have postcards, we have bigger postcards, and we have full-size presentations. And most people would say, I'm going to use postcards because they're cheaper. And to that, we would say, you need to go back to segment 1 and learn more about the dental consumer. You don't have room to promote the benefits of dentistry on a postcard. I don't think they make postcards large enough to promote the benefits of dentistry. And if they did, they would be more expensive than doing them the right way anyway.
But you do have enough room for a deal.
A deal. Okay, that's
promoting on price.
Right, that's what you can use postcards for. Okay, Again, this goes back to you building your marketing budget and considering your goals and how many new patients you need and what to do with your money. When we say you should allocate 40% to direct mail or whatever we said in your marketing plan, you have the choice of using postcards. If you use postcards and your design is primary design element within your postcard is a deal, then you're going after the bottom half of the market. You're going after the moms who will choose a healthcare provider based primarily on price. So if you're going to use postcards, here's how you think about it. Postcards equals a deal. That's all you have to do, right? Because you can't fit the benefits of dentistry on a postcard. You can't say enough about the benefits of dentistry on the size because you have a whole mail panel and you have a whole area that's you're not allowed to do anything in, so you're restricted. Full-size presentations they're not that much more expensive. And they could be 10 by 18 trifolded, double-sided. 6 panels, one of them is for the mail panel. You have 5 full-size panels to brag about all the benefits of dentistry that you do. And for a marginal increase in marketing expense, you get to go after the top half of the dental market properly. So if you go after the bottom half of the market, you can certainly use postcards. If you go after the top end of the market, you need to have the space. So you need to go after them with the full-size presentations, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now we've tested 8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 14, 8.5 by 17, 10 by 18, and we've done tri and quad folds. And it really, if you're in that part of building your marketing, it really comes down to your marketable attributes and how many dentists. Because if you have multiple dentists, you're going to need multiple get to know the dentist areas, and they take up space. You don't want to leave any dentist owners off of the piece. You may even consider we have done some work where you have meet the business administrator, because second to the dentist, the next most important relationship mom's going to have is with the person she talks to about finances, insurance, and the appointments. So you may need that information or that space for that information on a full-size presentation. So it really depends on how many marketable attributes you have, how you group them, how you prioritize them, and how many dentists you have. You might be able to get away with an 8.5 by 14 if you have few marketable attributes and only one dentist in the practice. That'll save you a few bucks on your printing.
Yeah. Another thing about postcards, just remember, postcard equals deal. You're going after the bottom half of the market, which means the revenue per patient is going to be poorer than it will be if you went to the top half of the market.
Right.
Okay. Revenue per patient is the key number. You can get the same number of new patients quantity-wise, but if you're going after the top half of the market, the revenue will be much higher.
Right. So that's where you have a balance. Should I spend 38 cents for my postcards or 45 cents for my full presentations? Well, we already discussed in a prior segment, you know what the mean average is now of what the bottom half of the market generates. And now you know the mean average of the revenue generated by the top half of the market. So if you're going to save 7 cents on a mail piece to eliminate the possibility of an extra $700, that's certainly $700 per patient, that's certainly your choice. But really what you're choosing is volume. Remember, the bottom half of the dental market will react quicker. So if you have a situation where your practice goals require volumes of new patients in a short period of time, let's say startup, adding a new dentist, adding a new chair, adding a new facility. Those are all examples where you might temporarily want to go after both halves of the market. But once you fill that capacity, you can ease off on the postcards and continue on with your full-size presentation to drive revenues. That's what we're saying. The cost difference isn't enough to make a decision. It depends on what you need, volume or quality or both. And that's a determination only you can make. So here's an example. Here's an example of a postcard. And we've gone through some design concepts in this segment that now we're going to get a little deep on you. Now we're going to test you. This is a postcard. It's a jumbo postcard. It's probably, I think it's the biggest postcard you can actually put out there,
Yeah.
right, without folding the thing. But it's a nice piece. It's glossy. It's great cardstock. The pictures are nice. There's plenty of things listed there. But we want you to look at this and think to yourself, what mistakes is this dentist making? If we know that it's a postcard and there are deals on it, which half of the market is he going after? If there are deals on it and they were using a postcard, what benefits of dentistry should he be promoting?
See, this is kind of schizophrenic.
Right.
If you look at half of it, he's obviously promoting cosmetics,
Mm-hmm.
white fillings, rejuvenate, restore your confidence, etc. He's going after the upper end of the market there. Good. But then what happens? On the other half of the piece, he's offering deals.
Multiple deals.
Multiple
Pick the
deals.
deal. Well, okay, now,
Freebies and discounts.
right, now go back to segment 1. Remember what we said. You're working with a whole dental market, 28 to 68 females, split in half. Moms who will choose based on price, moms who won't. You send them this piece. You send all of them this piece. I'm sure this was saturation mailed. You send them all this piece. Now the moms who get it, who are in the bottom half of the market, see the deals. That looks good to them. But then all the talk about cosmetic dentistry confuses them, right? So they probably won't react. Whew, that goes away. Now, if this piece hits someone from the top half of the market, it talks about cosmetics. It talks about rejuvenating your smile. There's some text there. It's not enough, but there's some text there. But then there's 6 offers there. So that turns that mom off. So this piece is actually doing harm to both halves of the market. We're not saying it didn't work. I'm sure some people called from it. But this is the perfect example of a schizophrenic piece in the dental market. It's also an example, hopefully you take this, take this home with you, so to speak. It's an example of how you can't market to both simultaneously in the same piece. Here's the way you would do it if you wanted to market simultaneously. You would create a piece like this without all the words about cosmetics in it and maybe make it more about family. Offer the deals, let them choose which deal they want, and send that to the bottom half of the market based on EVS data. And then create a full presentation about all the benefits of dentistry, maybe a couple of intro offers in the lower right-hand corner where nobody's going to look at the end anyway, and mail that to the top half of the same market in the EVS, in the top half of the EVS categories. That's an example of promoting to the top half and promoting to the bottom half of the same market simultaneously, but not in the same piece. I hope, because this happens a lot, and dentists are spending a lot of money doing this, and it's actually not doing them any good, not doing them any good short term, certainly not midterm or long term, right?
Right.
So hopefully out of this one piece, you just learned a couple of very valuable lessons. Okay, let's recap what we learned in this latest segment of the Dental Marketing Summit series. The first thing we discussed, well, this whole segment is the beginning of design. And one of the most prominent points that we need you to take home is the difference between what a design book tells you, or even all the way up to the point of what you like versus what really works and what doesn't work. Once we introduced you to the concept of the difference between 100% cookie cutter and 100% custom, and now you know, well, wait a second, I'm not the same dentist as everybody else, so 100% cookie cutter isn't going to work for me. And if I do something 100% custom, nobody's ever seen it before, so I'm taking a big risk. Well, now you know you have to create a design and test it for a period of time and measure what works and measure what doesn't work. And that's what we discussed in the last segment. So that's the design part. Then we opened up into the mediums when mostly we discussed the internal mediums, some external, but mostly internal mediums. The referral brochure, how to systemize and get more out of your existing patients simply by changing what you're handing them and giving them to hand their friends and their family. And what motivates their friends and their family, and what demotivates your own patients from sharing the information. Um, Internal promotions, well, we have the piece that goes to your newest patient and how to introduce the dentist and all your other dental services and all the benefits of the dental services you provide. They should go to your newest patients. That could be in the form of a brochure, which is a rather low cost way of doing it. And you can slip that right in with the health history forms and your HIPAA forms, all the way up to maybe for your A patients, a hard cover folder
Hmm.
where you have die cut inserts for uh, the marketable attributes you possessed to further introduce your newest patients to your practice. We discussed a little bit about PR articles. We discussed what a great be great for you to be Ask the Dentist in your magazine. That would
Hmm.
be wonderful, where you control the question and you control the answer. Then we went through testing you, which design, and we went through open airy, and we went through what I'm sure you thought was way too noisy, way too wordy, way too many colors, and you probably believed that it would never work. And we showed you the actual response from the dental consumer. And then we discussed why. And we brought in the USA Today analogy and the vignette concept so that, and then we discussed the why. Why does the top half of the dental market need that information in order to make a choice and the bottom half doesn't? We discussed WebMD as a perfect example of how that plays out and the advertising dollars that they enjoy just from understanding that about the top half of any healthcare market, but in particular the dental market. Now, in the next segment, we're going to take the design concepts that you just learned, and not even concepts, the tested design principles, we'll call them, and we're going to open you up to new mediums. We're going to open you up to the print media, how to evaluate the advertising possibility within print media, newspaper inserts, paid ads, magazines. How about doing your own magazine? That's certainly possible. We're going to talk about radio,
Hmm.
television,
Television.
billboards. So,
We're going to show you samples and
yep,
the do's and don'ts. Each medium has its own set of principles and axioms, and if you violate them, it will increase your risk tremendously. So
right.
we're going to show you how to reduce your risk by not violating the axioms.
Right. And remember previously in prior segments, we've already discussed the budgeting and the budget allocation and how these are done in steps. We're going to keep reminding you of that because some of these promotions are going to seem really exciting to you and you're going to want to do them, and then you're going to find out they cost $6,000 a month to do in your market area and you're going to be sad, okay? You'll get there. You just have to do it, one safe step at a time, let it build over time, much like that spreadsheet
Hmm.
of the lifetime of a dental pro, not the first 9 years of a dental practice, not a lifetime, but, and it's just slow and steady like the Energizer Bunny. That's how to do it right. That's how to avoid risk. That's how um, not to drive yourself insane with spikes and valleys in your cash flow. Not how not to spend too much money on promotion and let it get out of control. So we will see you in the next segment.
Thank you.